He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalms chapter 91, verse 1. This is an urgent telegram from the divine, telling us there's a way out of our fears. The shadow of the Almighty ain't just any shadow. It's where chains break. It's where lives get remade. There's a voice that cuts across the span of human history. A voice that rises above the cacophony of human fears and anxieties, saying, "Fear not, for I am with you." Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. But let me tell you, the Bible, God's own word, tells us 365 times to not be afraid. That's one fear not for every day of the year. Because God doesn't want us living in fear, even for a single day. Picture a young David before he became king, facing real dangers. Whether it's lions, bears, or even a spear hurling King Saul. David knew fear. Yet this young shepherd wrote, "I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust." Psalms chapter 91, verse 2. What David is really saying is when your soul finds its home in God, fear becomes homeless. But it's not so easy to trust when the storms of life are raging around you. Job lost his family, his wealth, his health. He was staring into the abyss. But what did he say? "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." Job chapter 13, verse 15. Job wasn't simply grappling with tough challenges. He was looking straight into the horrifying depths of utter despair. And yet, he boldly stated, "Try me, God." Let's journey to Gethsemane. Jesus is sweating blood, gripped by the impending agony of the cross. But in the moment of anguish, what does he say? "Father, not my will, but yours be done." Luke chapter 22, verse 42. Even Jesus had a Gethsemane, but he faced it with an acceptance that could only come from a life lived under the shadow of the Almighty. But why is it that fear can grip us so intensely? Fear is faith's opposite. It's the nemesis of destiny. And faith yells back at the storm. Faith stands and says, "Upon this rock I will build my life, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Matthew chapter 16, verse 18. Jesus never promised you wouldn't face storms. He promised that the storms wouldn't swallow you. Remember when Jesus was on that boat, rocking back and forth on stormy waters? The disciples, seasoned fishermen, mind you, were terrified. And Jesus was asleep. The King of Kings was napping in a boat that was nearly capsizing. When his disciples woke him up, scared for their lives, asking, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Mark chapter 4, verse 38. Jesus didn't break a sweat. He rebuked the storm and said, "Peace, be still." And the storm obeyed. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. Psalm chapter 91, verse 4. Why feathers of all things? Not a fortress, not a wall, but feathers. You see, God's trying to tell us that it's not by human might or power, but by his Spirit. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6. Feathers represent the Spirit's gentleness. And it's that gentleness that raises you above the fray. The Apostle Paul said it so clearly, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. Notice that sequence: power, love, and a sound mind. First, you've got the power to tread on serpents, to break chains. Then you've got love, the kind that can look fear straight in the eye and say, "You don't belong here." Finally, you have a sound mind, disciplined and focused. Life is knocking on your door saying, "It's your time." Are you going to open it with a trembling hand, or with a hand that knows the reassurance of Psalm chapter 91, verse 7? 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Daniel was cast into a den of lions because he dared to pray. Yet, what happened? My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths, so that they have not hurt me. Daniel chapter 6, verse 22. This story isn't just about a miraculous rescue. It's about facing the lions in your life with a supernatural assurance. Just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walked in the fiery furnace, the heat of life's challenges is inevitable. But they weren't alone. They were in that fire with an entity the Bible describes as like the Son of God. Daniel chapter 3, verse 25. The flames didn't consume them because their spirit had already been doused by something far greater: faith in the living God. God doesn't promise absence of trouble, but he does promise presence in trouble. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Psalms chapter 91, verse 13. This ain't poetry. It's battlefield talk. Those lions and serpents are real issues. Depression, anxiety, failures, betrayals. And God says, walk all over them. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. Psalms chapter 91, verse 15. God says, if you take the time to acknowledge Him, to love Him, then He will do something phenomenal. He will answer, deliver, and honor you. Is it any wonder that David could face Goliath? That Jesus could face the cross? That you can face whatever giant stands before you today? Yes, I know fear is a Goliath, but faith is a stone that can bring Goliath down. How many of us have that courage? That blind faith that allows us to say, come what may, I trust in the plan the Almighty has for me. And the plan He has for you is not one of suffering or despair, but of hope and redemption. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. Look, life is a battlefield, and on it, we must be warriors, not worriers. Fear will attempt to hold you back, to bind you in invisible chains, making you a slave to doubt and apprehension. But let me tell you something. If the Son, therefore, shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. John chapter 8, verse 36. Do not be a prisoner to fear. Cling to the words of Psalms 91, for in them lies the antidote to the venom fear injects into your life. Embrace it, live it, and when the storms come, stand firm and proclaim, I fear not, for I dwell in the secret place of the Most High.